Hi, my name is Palabo. While I'm working on the next season, I'm going to be sharing some flashback episodes of some of my favorite places around the world. This episode is from Asheville and Greensboro in North Carolina and was recorded in September 2017. Enjoy.
These students decided that they were going to pursue their 14th Amendment rights as citizens and sit down at the lunch counter and be treated like normal citizens.
Meet Palle Bo, a digital nomad from Denmark on an epic journey around the world. At the age of 50, he made a bold decision. He sold everything, his house, his car, his furniture, and set out with a quest to visit every single country in the world, documenting everything along the way. This is the Radio Vagabond.
The last week here in High Point, Davina needed the car, so I had to rent one. That's why I got into an Uber and drove to the car rental company. And funny enough, we've already been talking about Iran, and that was where the driver was born.
Sam.
Sam? He calls himself Sam. That doesn't sound like an Iranian name.
Just because I've been grow up in D.C. It was 45 years. I lived out of America for 19 years, but I lived in D.C. for 45 years. Then I became Sam.
What was your birth name?
Hassan.
Hassan.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And you're Iranian, and it was like so many other people, furniture that brought you to High Point.
That is what brought me High Point, because I've done the business for 40 years. High Point is a center for furniture market.
Yeah.
I moved to High Point. Now I'm living for almost 10 years in High Point.
So as a guy that's not born in the U.S., how do you see the U.S. With Iranian eyes?
Iranian eye, if you want to Iranian eye who lives in America, they're positive, they say, they love America. They love everything in here. But the one he has never seen this country, Iranian those never seen this country. Some they have dreamed to come to America.
Yeah.
Some, because of trust between these two countries, there's no trust. They don't have positive idea of America. And like some Americans don't have good positive idea of Iranian.
Do you still have friends and family back in Iran?
Yes, just my mother, father, they're gone.
Yeah.
I'm an old man, and I have old brother and an old sister. They're very old.
Some of them, do they say, what can you do in that infidel country?
No. Both of them, they have kids. They have two kids, both daughter and son. All four of them are PhD, medical doctor, or MD, or the doctorate in mathematics. They live here. They live here in Canada. They have idea. They come and go.
Yeah.
My family, they have idea what is going on in here. The one who lives in that country.
I've only been to Tehran and Shiraz when I was in Iran 11 years ago. What else should I see when I go there?
If you want to go see history, you could go to Kashan, Yazd. Yazd is a town. Zoroaster was born. Prophet Zoroaster was born in that town. They call Yazd.
Yeah.
You go see lots of historical places there, and you see people. You talk to them, very kind.
Yeah, that's what people always tell me. The nicest people in the world are from Iran.
What I'm saying in general, I'm saying.
I'm not just saying that because you're Iranian, but that's truly what people tell me.
Yeah, in any the reason I said Yazd, I'm talking to Zoroaster believer. All religion, it doesn't matter. Even in Muslim community, you will find good people. And we have Zoroaster, we have Jews, and we have Christian. They live side by side.
Yeah.
And they has no problem. See what happened today in Iraq. It's split in Kurdish Iraqis, but you go to Kurdistan in Iran, they don't want it to split. They don't. The people live side by side, are very friendly, kind together. it's good society, but some people don't like the government. Some people likes it. Some people don't like it. But in general, it's livable country. If we put it this way, if you ask me, could you live in that country? I say yes, I could.
Did you ever think about going back?
Little, not much.
Because now you're retired from the furniture and...
No, but see what happened, because it's here, I'm retired, I lived in here for so long. I have health matter, I cannot go other, not big time, but I have better live in here, watch my health in here. I have family, son in here.
You have kids here?
Yes, sir, one son.
This episode is brought to you in part by Hotels25.com. It's a website that helps you find the best deals on hotels and hostels around the world. Hotels25.com, it's best price guaranteed. Oh, and now I can see that I'm getting close to Blue Ridge Mountains. It's more up and down here on the highway, and in front of me I can see foresty mountains, and I can't wait to get closer. So beautiful.
And I can take anything you can throw at me, and nothing can get me down. Life is looking so bright, the sun is up again. I'm feeling like I could fly. No clouds in my way, no. And I'm living the good life. And I'm living the good life now. I'm living the good life, and nothing can get me down, no.
Okay, now I'm in Asheville, and I'm supposed to meet Andrea and her sister somewhere. I'm a little bit late. It's 1:45 p.m. and we're supposed to be here at 1, but they said that was okay because they were late too.
I'm so sorry that we're so late.
I just got here.
I've been trying to tell her that the whole way. I'm like, settle down. We're not that late.
This is my sister Michelle. This is Polly.
Hi, Polly. Is that how you say your name, Paul?
No.
How is it?
Polly.
Helen.
Polly. I know. I see. I don't
That's
know how
pretty
to.
close. Pretty
Polly.
close, yeah.
Okay, Polly. Okay. There's tons of restaurants. What kind of food do you like and don't like? I really want to take you to Chestnut because it's really.
I'm living the good life. I'm living the good life now. I'm living the good life, and nothing can get me down. No, no. Life's got a way of pushing you, but we got the strength to push on through. 'Cause there's not a place that we can't see if we don't live what we
Asheville is an amazing small city. If you're in the area, please promise me that you'll spend some time in Asheville, and a bit more than I just did. I only was there one afternoon, and I had to leave this morning because I have a meeting I need to go to. Make sure that you spend some more time. It's sort of a hippie town. There's a lot of music. There's a lot of people with funny hair and tattoos all over the city, and it's got a really nice laid-back feel to it. And the area that it's in is just so beautiful with Blue Ridge Mountains. If you have the time, then take the Blue Ridge Parkway up into the mountains. I drove a bit on it when I was picking up Davina in Virginia, but it starts around Asheville, and you can take that scenic route, but you need to make time for it. And unfortunately, I didn't have the time, so I need to come back to this area. It is just stunning nature. We went to a restaurant for lunch and another restaurant for dinner. The restaurant we went to for dinner was called Chestnuts, and it was just amazing food. The other one for lunch, it was some kind of Spanish restaurant across the street from Chestnuts, and it was also just amazing food. After dinner, we went to a place. It's a huge hotel. I don't remember the name of it.
It was called Grove Park Inn.
Oh, yeah, that's it. Thank you so much, Mr. Voiceover Guy. Yeah, it was just amazing. When we came in, it was a huge lobby with a huge fireplace and a lot of rocking chairs for some reason. Both in front of the fireplace and outside, there were just rocking chairs all over the place. But it's a part of the whole decor and the feel to it. There was a small band playing. Not that interesting music, but we did hear another band playing somewhere in the hotel. So we walked towards that music and found a party. It turned out to be a bankers convention that we party crashed, and I felt a bit underdressed because, of course, being a bankers convention, a lot of guys in suits and ties, and here I was with shorts and flip-flops and not really dressed for the occasion. So, but nobody kicked us out. There were no signs saying "Get out of here, it's a closed party." But we went in there, and that band was just amazing. Wow, it was good. And also, it was great to see Andrea again, that I met in Chiang Mai, and also her sister, and making friends with both of them. And that is one of the good things about traveling and going out and meeting people. You get to have friends all over the world, and all of a sudden you have the opportunity to meet them again, like I did with Paul Lam in Toronto, that I also met in Chiang Mai.
You are listening to the Radio Vagabond podcast. If you like what you hear, please leave a review in iTunes. If you're listening on an iPhone, you can actually do it right there within your podcast app.
It's my last day here in High Point. I got one more thing I need to do before I'm getting ready to leave tomorrow morning. I need to go back to the International Civil Rights Museum. When I was there a few weeks ago and got out of the elevator, I literally bumped into the CEO of the museum. His name is John, and I need to go back and talk to him about this place, because the museum is on the location of the very first sit-in here in the U.S.
Have you ever heard about the sit-in movement? Like I mentioned, it started right here in Greensboro, North Carolina on February 1st, 1960. It was back in the day when people of color couldn't use the same restaurants as white people. The Greensboro sit-ins were a series of non-violent protests, and the sit-in movement spread to 54 cities throughout the South, and actually to most of the country. But the primary event took place at the Greensboro F.W. Woolworth store. At this very place is now where you find the International Civil Rights Center and Museum. The Woolworth sign is still there, and so is the counter where the 4 brave African-American students were sitting, non-violently, not being served, and having people yell horrific things at them, trying to provoke them to start a fight.
John, we literally bumped into each other at the elevator. I almost knocked you over a couple of weeks ago. And you're the CEO of the International Civil Rights Museum. Can you please share the story of this location?
Sure. This museum came into being 2010, February 1, 2010, just 50 years to the day of the sit-ins from the 1963, February 1, 1960 sit-ins. I have served as CEO of the institution since 2014. I've worked with the museum since 2009. And each year we receive people from all over the world to educate young minds about social justice and what it means to take a stand in our country.
It was here the sit-in movement began.
Yes, it was. David Richmond, Franklin McCain, Joseph McNeil and Ezell Blair came to the F.W. Woolworth lunch counter and sat down.
There were just 4 freshmen
Students from North Carolina A&T. At the time, it was called North Carolina A&T College, but now it's North Carolina A&T State University today. But at that time,
it was a whites-only place.
The lunch counter was.
Yeah,
the lunch counter was a whites-only lunch counter. And these students, African Americans, were allowed to shop here, buy food, but they had to take their food out and eat on the sidewalk or take it back to their homes or wherever. But they could not sit at the F.W. Woolworth lunch counter as of February 1, 1960. So these students started planning and decided that they were going to pursue their rights, their 14th Amendment rights, as citizens in this country and sit down at the lunch counter and be treated like normal citizens in our country. And so that demonstration started on that day, February 1, 1960, and continued to July 25th of 1960. And Dudley high school students, they all participated in this bringing about of change in our country. So
they came in and they sat down and they weren't served?
They were not served. They were ignored until closing time. They were asked to get up and to leave. The police was called, but the police could not arrest them because they hadn't done anything wrong. And I've constantly thought back to why, since this was not the first time that a desegregation of a lunch counter occurred anywhere. This was the first successful one. And I've thought back to why would that have been. And the difference this time was prior, it was adults that were being beat up, that were being lynched, that were being killed. But this time was different. It was students. Greensboro is a college town. We have North Carolina A&T, High Point University, UNCG. We have Greensboro College, Guilford Tech. We have these schools here, and people send their children here to be taken care of, to be educated. So I think that it would have been a very different story had these students been lynched or killed or anything. So it was a nonviolent protest, and that's what we represent today, is nonviolent social change, that struggle that teaches people that you do not have to go out and tear down buildings and throw rocks and knock out glasses and set fires to building or taunt the police. You can take a stand, just as our NFL members are doing today.
And the whole movement spread across the country, not only in the South.
Yes, it continued to spread, and it was the sleeping car porters on the train, the Brotherhood of Sleeping Car Porters.
What was that?
They were a union. These car porters were people that were riding the trains and helping white passengers find their way to their seats, bringing food to them. But many of them were not allowed to sleep in those same quarters or eat in those same quarters on the train. So as the train would go from city to city to city, the porters would get off. They would let people know what was happening in Greensboro, in Raleigh, and in other places along the eastern quarter and down in the south. So that's why we say it spread like wildfire.
The Greensboro Woolworth closed for business in '93, but before the store was shut down, 2 8-foot sections of the original lunch counter was removed. One of them was sent to the Smithsonian Institute and is now on display in one of their museums in Washington, D.C., and another part to the Greensboro Historical Museum. The remaining 30 feet of the original countertop remained in place in the old building that was converted into this museum.
Talking about civil rights, it was almost in my lifetime, so I don't feel it's that long ago, and I'm amazed how it was back then. And things have definitely gotten a lot better, but are we there yet?
We have made remarkable strides in this country. I don't think that we're there yet. A lot of people in our economy who are doing very well, who have achieved, they have quote-unquote arrived in society, there were so many other people who have been left behind. And I think that with Colin Kaepernick, he grew up in a biracial family. He is a biracial child, but was raised by white parents. He had 2 other siblings. He saw what it was like to be near a white family, but also to be half black himself, and treated very differently when he would travel on vacation. So while he was a student in Nevada, I believe, he started doing a little soul searching and connecting with that African American experience, and started learning that things were not as a lot of us would assume that they should be. And so, looking introspectively, I think he has brought to the forefront a national discussion that needs to be had about what it means to be violated as an African American in our society, police brutality. All of these things, they do matter in our economy today. But it doesn't take a rocket scientist to drive through most neighborhoods and look at how people have to live. We can do better. And I'm very proud that the NFL is leading a change and starting that discussion.
But I also feel, especially after the election, that the country is getting more and more divided. Is that something that you feel as an American?
I can see that our country is more and more divided. I was very surprised during the election of President Obama, where we really had an opportunity to show our progressiveness. We did that. This country came together and looked past race and elected our first African American president. But it would have been great to build on that success rather than to turn and say we're going to take steps backwards. When you're leading a country, people look to you to lead and not get down in the mud and just make ridiculous comments, and support people who need to be educated. Support them in their backward thinking instead of bringing them into the 21st century and letting them know that they have a responsibility here. We are all one people. But I have been very disheartened by the national dialogue from the White House.
I've taken the tour here, and some of it is very interesting. Some of it is appalling. You have some pictures there that almost made me sick to my stomach. But can you just say, what will people see when they visit this museum?
Sure. When we have visitors in, we like to engage them where they are. We like to express to them that this is not just an African American museum. We use an African American struggle to tell the story, a fight for freedom. Now, we are an international civil rights and human rights organization, and many people around the globe have observed what happened right here in Greensboro as a basis for their own struggles. So what people will see when they come here is what led up to this moment, this pivotal moment in our society in 1960, to changing the rules for black and white meeting spaces and public facilities. The students that walk through this museum, they see lynchings, they see hangings, they see African American men burned, they see bombings, and those are very troubling to some people that have never experienced it or even heard about it. But the 8th grade students that visit this museum, they seem mature enough to handle it. At first, they think it's dramatization, until we have to let them know time and date and that is a real person that they're looking at in these images. Yeah. But we take folks on through to the lunch counter.
Yeah. You have the actual lunch counter.
Yes, here. The actual lunch counter is here. I was quite impressed by the number of scholars who thought that we had given it away. And
a small section of it is in Washington, as far as I know.
Yes. Some time ago, the founders of the museum removed a portion of the lunch counter. The extensions that were added to the lunch counter after the sit-ins, when we were building the museum and putting the counter back to its original condition, there were some rounds that were added on, like islands, and we gave those away, or portions of them, to Smithsonian and to the Greensboro History Museum. Also, the African American Museum, the new African American Museum in Washington, has 2 bar stools from here. So we still have 53 bar stools and one section of the counter that has never been moved, never been added to. So there is no doubt about it.
No. And it's pretty cool because behind the counter you have screens that are connected, so you can you see the reenactment of it, and it's very well done.
Yes, we have been ranked the most important and most interesting institution to visit on the East Coast recently by Tripping.com, and also TripAdvisor has designated us the top attraction in Greensboro. Our state magazine just came out with an article where the sit-in movement that took place here was one of the most important occurrences. It was the 40th occurrence in North Carolina that really helped to make North Carolina what it is. But the employees that work here with such enthusiasm for the last 8 years, they walk in with a level of pride when they're talking about Greensboro and who we are, where we've been, and where we're going. This museum is about the future. It is truly about the future, and we do our best to educate everyone that comes through about their responsibility in contributing toward that progress for a better future.
That is an important story that you tell, and it's important that we don't forget. Thank you so much, John. I'm glad I bumped into you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's it. I don't think there's any more I need to see or do other than pack my suitcase and be ready to leave tomorrow morning. I'm going to Washington, D.C., and I'm so looking forward to that. My name is Palabo, and I gotta keep moving. See ya. I hope you enjoyed this flashback episode, and if you did, please share it with one of your friends. There's going to be so much exciting stuff coming up in Season 7 of the Radio Vagabond, and we start that one in September. My name is Palabo, and I gotta keep moving. See ya.
Produced by RadioGuru.co.uk.